We hope to see you there June 13th through the 16th. Forkfest.party.
Free speech is protected on the internet, right? Not always. Government agencies try to limit free speech and commerce on the net. Luckily, when they do, the Institute for Justice is there to defend your First Amendment right to free speech. IJ helped set the first federal precedent for internet free speech in 1999, and ever since has worked to prevent unconstitutional roadblocks in cyberspace. Visit our website today at ij.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Coming up next after the news, Hour 1 of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, here at listen.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has stood up to Donald Trump in the Oval Office, telling the US President Canada won't be for sale ever. It follows repeated threats from President Trump to annex Canada and make it America's 51st state. The two leaders were meeting for the first time at the White House, and Prime Minister Carney ruled out any possibility of Canada becoming part of the US.
As you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, Buckingham Palace, that you visited as well.
That's true.
Having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But the opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build together. And we have done that in the past.
The Trump administration has asked a federal judge in Texas to toss out a lawsuit which would restrict access to abortion pills. The suit had been filed by 3 Republican-led states and was seeking to roll back access to the drug mifepristone, including ending telehealth services to access the medication. As FSN's Tony Waterman reports from Austin, Texas.
Government lawyers say the case should be dismissed because Idaho, Kansas, and Missouri don't have legal standing to sue in Texas. But they stop short of addressing the issue of access to the abortion pill mifepristone. Women have increasingly relied on the drug since Roe v. Wade was overturned by the Supreme Court. The drug is now used in 63% of terminations and could be higher in states with abortion bans. The request to toss the case is surprising, given that President Donald Trump has often bragged about overturning Roe. But some experts say the administration could simply be buying time to come up with a different strategy to limit the drug's use. Tony Waterman, Texas.
Russia has temporarily closed multiple airports after Ukraine launched more than 100 drones over multiple Russian regions overnight. FSN Stuart Smith has more from Kyiv.
It's the second night in a row Ukrainian drones have targeted the Russian capital. All 4 of Moscow's major airports were temporarily closed, and the city's mayor claims 19 drones were intercepted around the city without any casualties. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he cannot guarantee the safety of international leaders who decide to attend Moscow's Victory Day celebrations in Moscow's Red Square on May 9th, having implicitly rejected Moscow's offer of a 3-day ceasefire, straddling the event, which marks the defeat of Nazi Germany 80 years ago. Kyiv says Moscow's offer is disingenuous, that if Russia was serious about ending the war, it would accept Ukraine's offer of an immediate 30-day ceasefire.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking in more detail today at the decision by the Israeli cabinet to greenlight plans to expand the country's military offensive in Gaza and capture the entire territory. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he's planning a fresh, forceful move to destroy Hamas and free the remaining Israeli and foreign hostages held in Gaza since the murderous Hamas attacks on Israel on October the 7th, 2023. Israeli officials say the plan now now is to move ahead with a takeover of the territory, where a humanitarian crisis is deepening amid Israel's refusal to allow more aid into Gaza. Sir David Liddington is the chair of the UK-based think tank RUSI.
My reading of this is that the Israeli government has concluded that what they have been doing so far has not worked in terms of defeating Hamas. We still hear nothing from the Israeli government about what they think the political outcome is. And let's be honest about it, I don't see where the Palestinian leadership is. There are Palestinian leaders who want an accommodation with Israel, but they don't have the political authority. And Hamas, there is no sign of compromise, of recognising Israel's right to exist.
One group representing the families of hostages said Prime Minister Netanyahu is choosing territory over hostages and claimed the plan is opposed by 70% of the Israeli population. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
And the main news again, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has stood up to Donald Trump in the Oval Office, telling the US president Canada won't be for sale ever. The Trump administration has asked a federal judge in Texas to toss out a lawsuit which would restrict access to abortion pills. And Russia has temporarily closed multiple airports overnight after Ukraine launched more than 100 drones over Russian regions. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
Hundreds of exasperated Americans confirmed Thursday that, for fuck's sake, the article they just clicked on is actually a stupid video.
I clicked on the story thinking I'd be in and out of there in 30 seconds, but then that little buffering thing popped up and I was like, here we go.
Quickly hitting the mute button after being disoriented by a loud blast of noise from some stupid ad for Hotels.com, many of the deceived then scanned the webpage for some corresponding write-up so that they could simply read in peace. But reports indicated that would just be too convenient, wouldn't it?
Look, I don't want to watch a report or interview or panel discussion or whatever the hell this is. I just want to skim an article real quick and move on with my day. This is bullshit.
After seriously considering hitting the back button on their browsers, sources say the majority of readers decided to just let the video play out.
You know what? I'll watch the thing, and I'll probably watch the next video that automatically loads afterwards.
This is the Onion News Network.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
Talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number to call to bring up whatever is on your mind, and that's the point of Free Talk Live, for people to call in with whatever they want to talk about and discuss it with us. Just get your thoughts aired out on national radio and get out what you want to talk about without being controlled by the radio host.
But if you're an idiot, I'm going to call you an idiot.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
just so we're clear.
And if you just continue to call Richie Rich fat boy, it might not be considered an argument, and we might get bored of your call and hang up on you.
It also doesn't affect me at all.
Yeah, it's just so bad. I just happened to be sitting in the room when David from New Mexico called last week, very mad at you. I guess that's what you're referencing when you said you'll call them an idiot? Or
no, just in general. If you call into this show and like spout off idiotic nonsense, I'm like, dude, that's some idiotic nonsense.
And
that's
actually,
just what I do.
Now that I think of it, I'm pretty sure that you refrained from calling him any names while he just kept calling you names.
Maybe. I might have.
I feel like you did.
Okay.
But
I appreciate that.
We do already have a caller on the line. So Tom from New Hampshire. Tom, you wanted to talk about Trump. What did you have to say about Trump?
Well, Trump wants to be Pope, and he posted a picture, an AI doctored up picture of him dressed up as Pope on Twitter, X, and so that brings me up an idea. Any evangelicals who actually think that Trump would be a decent Pope, I would just remind them what it says in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, verses 15 and 16. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inward they are ravenous wolves. You shall know them by their fruits, close quote. And well, take a look at the fruits. Look at the 24 April 2025 raid on a home in Oklahoma City where a mother and her 3 daughters were peacefully sleeping, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement goons barged in with lots of guns drawn everywhere, getting them up, forcing them out of the house. Oh, by the way, the warrant wasn't for them anyway. They just moved into the place, and they're being forced out of their house in their underwear in the rain, and they're scared for their lives. So, are we really safer with all these goons?
Where was that? Sorry?
Oklahoma City. You key in the search term Marissa, because that's the pseudonym that radio station, or TV station KFOR, Oklahoma City, Channel 4. That's what the FOR in the call letters means. KFOR.com. And Marissa, ICE, and, they just moved from Maryland. So key in keywords like that, and you'll find it.
I already found it.
Do you actually think Trump wants to be Pope? This is highly disputed amongst friends of mine.
So anyway, let me mention something here, that they were pleading with these immigration and customs agents that we aren't the suspects. We're U.S. citizens. Leave us alone. Don't take all our money. We need that. That's our cash. And they took the cell phones, and pleading with them, they were as cold as ice.
Mm-hmm.
Very Pope-like behavior.
Wow, that's pretty awful. So they took money from these people?
Oh, yeah. Well, they had a search warrant to raid that house and take all the cash and electronics that they find in that house. And so that's what they did. Never mind whether somebody else lives there now. They didn't care about that when they found out somebody else lives there. You think they're going to back off and apologize? Oh, no. They have a warrant that says they have a legal right to... So suing them would be pretty difficult. You'd have to figure out some way. But it's just like the attack on...
I know that the warrant
on...
I know the warrant on my house definitely said things about Ian Freeman. Like, it had his name on it, not just the house. Like, it said any computer devices that could reasonably be assumed to have been used by Ian Freeman. That's why they wouldn't let me keep my cell phone or laptop. So I feel like these people might have a case.
Maybe, because I think the legal term, or at least the constitutional term, is the warrant must have the person or place to be searched and the items to be seized.
Wow.
So they might have had the wrong name, but if they had the right address, right, that's the place to be searched, and the electronics are the items to be seized. So even if they got the wrong person, they weren't searching a person, they were searching a place.
Wow, it's so bad.
Kind of like on 28 May 2014 when the goons in Habersham County, Georgia, threw a flash grenade into a toddler's playpen, and none of those goons went to prison. It's just more proof that no human being will ever be safe until the last cop is dead.
I'm glad you're back on that bandwagon, Tom. You got off it for so long, and I was very disappointed.
He always hangs up after he says it because he thinks we're gonna get mad at him, but I think he has the wrong two hosts to get.
I mean, he led with the Pope thing, and I asked him a question if he really thought it, because
oh yeah.
What do you think Trump wants to be Pope?
This is the first I've heard of this. I pulled up a story from AP. It says that Trump drew criticism with AI images of himself as the Pope ahead of the papal conclave, which is that where they choose the new Pope.
So let me back it up a little bit for you. Like, a reporter asked him a question about, after the Pope died and they were doing the conclave, and they said, well, who would you like to see as Pope? And Trump said, well, I think I'd be a good Pope. Right. And then he backed off. He goes, well, I don't really get involved in these things. And then he put together like an AI picture of him in the Pope gear and posted it on Truth Social or whatever on X. And I'm like, well, see, my personal opinion is that I don't think Trump says things necessarily in jest. He says things to float the idea out there and see how, and to garner the response to it and gauge how acceptable what he said is. So if he said I wouldn't mind being Pope, and all the MAGA people went, yes, Trump, Pope, Trump, Pope Trump the First.
Wouldn't he have to be Catholic?
Yes.
Is he?
I don't know.
I've never heard that he is.
Okay.
I've only ever heard that like JFK was Catholic, and that was almost like a big problem for Americans who are mostly Protestant.
Yep.
Is that the word? I remember it being like not that he almost didn't win, but it was like while he was running on his campaign, people were like, and he's Catholic, we can't trust him.
Yep.
So I feel like it would have come up if Trump was Catholic, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, and I don't know. Mm-hmm. But, you know, if he is, or like how long does it take to go get baptized? Right? Like, I don't know.
Well, it does take some time because with them it's like some classes and stuff like that, and then you get baptized
babies.
at the end. No. Oh, well, I think that's like a baby thing, and then there's your first communion where you have to take like the classes, and that's when you decide you're Catholic and you like commit
That's confirmation.
To it. Yeah. Or did I say communion? Well, there's also first communion. Maybe that's confirmation. I was never Catholic. So
Okay. I was. I'm confirmed. Now atheist.
So do you think that he could just get baptized like
Baptized
babies
is easy.
do?
Yeah.
And then that would be... I feel like that wouldn't be enough for Pope, though.
I don't know. The only rule that I'm aware of, right, because I don't follow this anymore, is like you have to be Catholic. Mm-hmm. And if he's in the running for Pope, and they go like, well, just baptize him and then make it so. But point being, right, some people say, you know, a lot of people go like, well, he was just joking. Trump's a jokester. And I go, no. He says the thing to gauge their response, and then he acts based on their response.
That wouldn't even be a really bad way of doing things. I feel like probably lots of like companies do certain things like that.
Yeah. And guys, right? It's a guy thing. Like, they say something lewd or lascivious, and they go, "Nah, just kidding."
Oh.
So unless you're serious, because if you're serious, then then I'm serious too. Otherwise, I was just joking. Totally joke, unless you're serious, right? But you say the thing to gauge the response, and then you course correct from there.
Well,
Pope President the First.
One thing I think about is, would he even have enough time? Like, he has to do everything that the president of the United States does. I feel like
he spends so much time golfing.
I feel like they won't choose him.
They shouldn't.
Yeah.
But he said it and then sent out the picture of him in the gear. So the question is not could he, but does he want to be?
And maybe it's just part of this whole propaganda that's been going on the internet for a really long time, like Catholic, go Catholic. Randomly choose to become Christian one day and randomly choose Catholicism out of these ones. Have you been seeing that?
No. I don't spend a lot of time on the internet.
It really is a Gen Z kind of thing. And I know multiple people in my personal life, I won't say who have I want to say fallen for it, but that's going to sound offensive, as if it's that's a objectively bad thing to do. But the thing is, when you're being propagandized to do anything, even if it's neutral, eat toast today, it's pretty obvious to other people who see it happen. Like if you were sitting around watching TV with your sibling and a toast commercial came on, and then they're like, now I want some toast.
So I'll share you a story about this. Do you remember the cereal Oreo O's?
Oreo O's? No.
Yeah. Okay. So this goes back a ways because there was no cell phones at this time. But I was sitting in the in our room with my stepbrother and my friend, and